I know we're all excited about it. Let me bring this up for you. It is confirmed Kash Patel will be the 9th director of the FBI. It was a vote of 51-49. There were some Republicans that had already said that they were going to oppose this, one of them being Susan Collins. I'll have to double check that she did. It's been somewhat of a contentious path for him. According to Susan Collins, she said the nomination of Kash Patel to serve as director of FBI comes to the Senate against the backdrop of recent personnel actions at the Department of Justice, including the resignation of several career federal prosecutors who felt they were being instructed to act in a manner inconsistent with their ethical obligations, she said. In a statement, a Thursday statement released just before the key procedural vote, she's alluding to the stuff going on with Eric Adams there.
Okay.
I think a lot of people have big expectations for Kash Patel and his future with the FBI. What do you think is going to be the first 2 things that he does while in office, Luke?
Epstein client list.
Let's
immediately.
go.
Are you expecting it like in the next 24 hours?
Yeah, and then Russian collusion, all the agents that were a part of that, and part of the unfair kind of lying about Donald Trump colluding with the Ruskies there. I think that's going to be the big one. I'm going to, where's the private chat here? I'm trying to find it right now. I have a video clip of him actually talking to us at Timcast about some of the things that he's kind of promising to do here that I think is worth playing. I just sent it in the chat room right now.
Okay. Well, I pull it up. Tell me the second thing you think he's going to take care of. If Epstein is first.
Epstein's first. I think going after a lot of the bad players in the Russian collusion debacle that happened. I think that's going to be the biggest one out of all the other ones, because that's where he has all the direct receipts from. If you remember, Kash Patel was the guy that broke the story after so many intel agencies came out and lied to the people, specifically saying that Russia and Putin helped Trump win this election, which was an outright lie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the clip from when we filmed with Kash at the Libertarian National Convention earlier in 2024.
The other thing that I put in the book that I recommended the boss to do hits on this. We need a 24/7 declassification office.
Yes.
Rolling papers out 24/7. And not just like JFK and not just 9/11. You're talking to the guy that's read the whole 9/11 report and those 7 pages that people talk about. But I believe, as like the guy who's an intel guy who believes wholeheartedly in the classified system of information, I believe that it has been over abused by these corrupt officials in government to hide the truth and enact more corrupt activities. So what I told the boss was like, I don't care what you call it, truth and reconciliation, whatever, come up with a better name. But every agency and department literally submits all of their documentation. And I believe you could get half out, half. I still think the other half needs to remain classified. I'll always argue that it does serve a purpose. But like you're seeing in these documents in the Jack Smith case, they're just redacting stuff that they lied about, that they broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's used to protect themselves.
And it's a public document in federal court, which is a document for the people of the United States. And we can have you run that office. You can come in and just be like, hey, I want all the Saudi documents.
I'll gladly do that. I'd be so happy.
Yeah,
guys, it looks like we're losing Luke. This is why he's so excited about Kash Patel's nomination.
I'm freaking excited.
the press secretary for the Libertarian Party.
The declassifying document.
The viceroy of declassification.
Absolutely, I like that.
There you go.
I'm in. You got. Where do I sign up?
Yeah, but I think that's how you earn the respect. Like you said, Donald Trump started talking about these things. Then we started putting these documents out there. And remember when I ran Russiagate, right? They came after me and said, if you put out the Nunes memo and you put this out that you wrote, our enemies and our allies are going to get murdered. No one died.
So I think big things are ahead for Kash Patel. Do you think people are going to trust the justice system more, or do we feel like the justice system is slowly falling apart?
I think already we have seen a number of terror attacks stopped inside of the United States. That's something that the FBI used to aid and abet. That's something they used to goat people to do. I think it's a new day. And with Kash going in there, he's going to go in there with Deutsche. He's going to go in there with Elon Musk. He's going to go in there looking at the accounting, looking at the numbers, looking at the documents. There's going to be so many FBI agents that are going to be pissed off, that are going to be scared, that are going to be shaking in their boots. This is a new day and age that is absolutely going to be incredible in my book. And man, I'm just flabbergasted. I'm so happy this happened. I was expecting a lot of resistance with Tulsi, but Tulsi got approved. RFK Jr. got approved. They delayed Kash Patel as long as they could, and I believe they were doing that because they were trying to get their stories online. They were trying to shred and destroy documents as fast as they could.
That's what I'm wondering, because it's like, even if he drops the Epstein client list and all that kind of stuff, well, the Epstein files, have they already been tampered with, and are we actually going to get everything?
I think that there are a couple of reasons they slow walked Kash Patel here, but I think one of the things that became immediately apparent is that RFK and Tulsi have a much greater public reach. Kash is great, but just more people know who Tulsi and RFK are. And so opposing them was actually met with more public opposition. I think Kash is going to be a really interesting choice. I think he's going to do a lot of stuff, but he doesn't have the same kind of clout, essentially, that the other two do with more moderate or less political people. There were a lot of people who didn't love Trump, but loved RFK and wanted to see him installed.
Right.
They really could only try and fight one person. And it just seemed like Kash Patel ultimately was the recipient of a lot of their rage. Do you expect that Kash Patel is now going to be the target of a lot of character assassination?
I mean, that was already happening for a very long time. I mean, we saw the opposition that he faced. We saw Adam Schiff along with some other low-T soy boys outside of the FBI with the press conference today saying, no, he's going to be a criminal. He's going to be so dangerous. He's going to create harm. Yeah, that's what you guys were doing for the last few freaking years. And we're done with that hyperbolic, sensationalistic language. He's going to get down to business and the levels of disclosures. I mean, this is a big deal. Because honestly, personally, I no longer have to worry about the FBI knocking down my door and raiding me. They raided all my friends. They raided James O'Keefe. They raided Roger Stone. I was recently hanging out with them, and I'm like, yeah, I only got interrogated by the FBI. I feel left out here. But now this larger kind of relief of like, okay, they're not going to go after homeschoolers. They're not going to go after parent-teacher conference participants. They're not going to go after pro-lifers. They're actually going to go after the criminal cartels and the organizations that are actually creating harm to the average human being. Hell yeah. So this is going to be big on so many different ways.
I'm really curious to see how Kash Patel addresses the domestic spying and domestic investigation issues, because there are a lot of people directly connected to Trump and not. I mean, I think of the Latin Mass Catholics who were really violated over the last 4 years by the federal government. And while Kash himself is not responsible for that, he is now in charge of the agency that was involved in some of this stuff. So I wonder what that is going to look like. How do you both offer compensation and also effectively move forward from it? Because it was so damaging. There are so many people who look at the federal government differently because of how they were treated just for expressing their own beliefs.
Yeah, this was also a very close race. Very, very narrowly, he was able to be confirmed, by the way. So there was a lot of things at foot here trying to prevent this from happening. So this Mitch McConnell flip, I think, also was extremely key here.
It's narrow, but it wasn't as bad as Hegseth, to be fair. I mean, we didn't have to bring in J.D. Vance to cast a tie-breaking vote. And I wonder if there's a certain level of compliance that's coming from the Republicans at that point. Fewer of them defected to vote against Kash Patel, even though there was obviously institutional resistance to his nomination. Melonie, what does TikTok think of Kash Patel? Can you tell us? Can you, as our correspondent, tell us what they think?
TikTok hasn't weighed in that much on Kash Patel. I'm sure more than I've seen, but in terms of like the youths that I usually see their content, they haven't. But I think if he does some big things like, drop those Epstein files and all of that, then yeah, I think that's definitely going to make waves on TikTok, and the young people will definitely start to notice something huge like that happening.
Do you think some of it, like I said before, is that Kash Patel's sort of an inside baseball person? Like, if you know about politics in the Trump administration,
I think so, because I don't really know hardly anything about him. And I think this will definitely help get him more in the mainstream knowledge of what he's about, what he's going to do, how this is going to affect the all of us. And yeah, that's when we'll be seeing more of him.
Yeah, I think there's a reason Pete Strzok deleted all of his Twitter history recently.
Oh,
There's a reason why a lot of people like Adam Schiff are freaking out here. This is big. This is major, and this is going to be something that will change the face of the Justice Department, of the FBI for a very long time now. I mean, the FBI has such a bad record, such a bad history, especially when it comes to abusing their positions of power and going after politicians who weren't playing ball. This is something that I think people don't realize just how big of an announcement it actually is.